Hey everybody, Aaron here, and welcome to another anime request review. Today we're going to be looking at the anime film called Space Pirate Captain Harlock. This anime request comes from Ozaru. Thank you, man. I appreciate it, buddy. I was actually planning to do a review for this eventually, but I kind of forgot when did actually I was going to upload it. So I'm like, well, since you gracefully asked me to review it, I'm going to review it, and I'm going to talk about it. Now, really fast, guys, though, I don't actually remember any of the original uh, anime stuff. I know there's an anime that came out for Captain Harlock way back in the past. I think it was around the 70s, 80s, maybe of anime time, maybe even around mid 80s. I never actually saw the original anime. I think, to my knowledge, maybe I did, but I don't remember any of it. So for that reason, I had to go online to make sure that everything in this movie was how I thought it originally was. Was it's kind of a standalone concept because this came out in 2013, and from my knowledge, most people don't know what Space Pirate Captain Harlock is. I mean, even the movie or the original series. I mean, some people probably do, but for the majority, I don't know if it's hugely popular. I mean, I know some people know about it. I just don't know how many people know about it. So I apologize in advance if it sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to, popularity. It could be very popular. I'm just completely wrong. So please, I apologize in advance for that. But from my knowledge, it's kind of like a dead show in terms of anime because you don't really hear anyone talk about it as their classic favorites or anything like that. I've never had anyone on a top 10 list do classic anime and have it on there. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you with that. But that doesn't mean that there's nothing that have its fan base because obviously it came out in 2013 and, they made a movie for it. So, from my knowledge, though, this movie is by itself entirely its own story. So, it doesn't really have to do very much with besides the main character's name and the concept of it being a movie, but everything else, like story and plot wise, has to be on its own. So, just know that going into this film. So, Pirate Captain Harlock really is not per se anything you haven't seen before in terms of storytelling. The kind of concept is that Earth has been constantly ravaged by overusing of minerals and overusing of our kind of regular aspects of life. We're running out of food. We're overusing land. Doing all the stuff that humans are known to do to the earth, and they've always kind of made the predictions in the future in the technology world that if we keep using the resources of the earth like this, we're gonna have issues and we're gonna have to figure out new ways of synthesizing creations and stuff like that. So I mean, it's not like you haven't heard of it before. It's been done before story wise. But Space Pirate Captain Harlock is not meant to be. I'm just calling Captain Harlock, by the way, for the time because saying the whole title is really annoying to me. Captain Harlock, the whole concept of it, though, is per se one individual who seemingly took down a whole war and now is going to do something really outrageous by destroying some area of land and space that will cause this kind of huge change in the way of the world and the galaxy and everything around that will be just kind of started from that one catalyst. Now, what happens then is that we have a kind of skip ahead where we have our main character who's going to be the main focal point of the show, Yama, who he's kind of pissed off at Harlock. He saw that I'm not going to really, I don't want to spoil too much of it because it really kind of is spoiled territory. Because, I mean, it's not right in the beginning of the movie, but it is close to the beginning. Yama was kind of hurt by Captain Harlock, per se, his family was, and that kind of aggravated him. So then he's paid off by a mercenary group to go and infiltrate the ship and to kind of stop Harlock from doing anything that he's planning to do. So what he does is he does somehow become one of his space pirate kind of, members. So I'm trying to think of the actual crew, I guess, the motley crew. He actually becomes one of the crew members. And what's funny from there on is that the whole movie kind of just goes random. Like, I mean, you see how already I'm kind of having issues with the storytelling part of it, like kind of explaining to you guys what is and what is not happening in this anime movie. It kind of is what's happening in the actual film. It's a lot of random stuff, and it does have the greater plot of Captain Harlock going and destroying the catalyst event to kind of just change the world and everything around it. But the main focal points are kind of random. You have aliens, you have other people that are after him for some reason, you have all this kind of, him being maybe an immortal, maybe him being not immortal, what's his legacy like. It kind of boils down to something that's not that interesting per se, but it's not a bad movie. If that makes any sense. Like, yeah, I know, like, you're trying to say it's not interesting, right? But it's not bad. How is that possible? Well, it is very possible with movies like this, where you have these movies that are, I think, more so eye candy. I talked about this in one of my anime talks a long time ago. Final Fantasy Advent Children, when it came out, was all CGI, of course, and it was really done very spectacularly well done. I mean, I love that movie in terms of visuals, but in terms of storytelling and kind of plot points, it makes no sense whatsoever. You know, they're trying to go off of what happens in the Final Fantasy VII lore, but kind of go off the tangent with it. By the way, I am going to review that eventually down the road. I'm not going to do it right now, but I am going to do it later. But what's funny about that is just that it's so wonky and crazy with the storytelling and the plots and all that, that you're almost like, what the hell's going on? What? You know, who these characters that showed up like that? Captain Harlock reminds me of was a spitting image of Final Fantasy. And that besides Harlock and besides his motley crew, everything else is off the rails of just what the hell's going on in this movie. You know, you find out Harlock is probably immortal. You find that out. I'm not spoiling really per se, but it's something that they skip ahead, 100 years in the story, and they tell you that they're skipping ahead there, and he's still around, and he still looks like he's, 30, 40 years old. That kind of means something, they don't tell you that they tell you people age in the show, so, I mean, him looking like that kind of shows you something. His ship is like the ghost ship where it looks really cool. I mean, I love the way his ship looks. It really looks awesome. It goes around and it's sometimes there, it's sometimes not by people. People are afraid of it when it appears because they think, oh man, that means we're to die somehow. It's the same kind of concept of the usual pirate mythology and mythos where you have the kind of ship that just appears in the water in the ocean, and all of a sudden everything that's around it dies because it's bad luck or bad juju to have that happen. Kind of reminds me of Space Pirate Captain Harlock. I said the title again because it flows off the tongue. Space Pirate Captain Harlock. That really flows off. Like, say it a couple times, it's like, wow, that does flow off the tongue. I hate it, but I just think it flows off the tongue very well. Anyways, let me get back to this review with this though. This is like my worst review I think I've done in a while. I hope not. I hope you guys enjoy this, but it's one of those anime that's very hard to review because it's just the fact of what's happening. If you don't look this up online, like I had to go back and look up stuff because I saw this, I think several months ago. I like the movie, don't get me wrong. From a visual standpoint, this movie's phenomenal. You'll go into it like, wow, this is such great stuff. I mean, oh my god, explosions that are nice. They look awesome. The animations are stellar. I mean, it's just like, wow. But the storytelling is like, I'm confused. And that's kind of what happens with this whole movie is that I think they could have really fleshed out characters. They could have done a lot more. But it's the kind of thing that I am going to talk about in one of my anime talks recently about, or I might be talking about soon, about films and anime in general. Like, what happens with them? Can they tell the whole story? That's something a 24 episode or 12 episode show can do rather than a 2-hour show or an hour and a half movie. That's the issue with Captain Harlock. It's only around, I think, 2 hours long. It doesn't really give you much to really go off of. You feel for Captain Harlock when they explain his background story because they really do go into his background story a lot, and you feel for him that he has to make certain decisions that ultimately are the kind of changing life experiences that if he does this, he might be hated and known to be hated already more than he is already from people. But besides that, Yama really, his story is very cut and dry. The typical revenge plot that he then realizes, what, Captain Harlock's a good guy. I'm gonna help him out. The one girl I forgot. I'm sorry in advance. I forgot her name and I forgot to look it up. She's also got a kind of I'm here because he saved my life one time before. I'm now devoted myself to saving his. It's the typical kind of tropey kind of character movie that you've seen before in movies like this. But overall, though, if you're looking for a kind of visual pleasing movie, it does it. If you're not, and you're looking for something with substance, look elsewhere. I'll tell you right now. Overall, if I had to give it an A through F, I'd have to give it a C minus. Again, it's not a bad movie. Like, I don't want to say that this is unwatchable. It really is not. That's why I'm not giving anything lower than a C minus. It's, for most people, it will be around a C. For me, it was a C minus. But it's just something that I think they could have really done a lot more with the story. And I think, again, like Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, they wanted to go with just the art and animation, the CGI effects. They really didn't care too much about anything else. They wanted to make something visually pleasing to the audience. And they did it. They did something that you look at and you'll go, wow, this is spectacular. But if you actually nitpick every little part of the story and you start going into like, that doesn't work, that does work, that doesn't work, that does work, you then realize how bad the movie really is because it doesn't have anything going in terms of substance storytelling. And that's an issue. Like I said before, art is important in anime, but equally writing is more important because you're actually, and I think Oz said this best himself, so it's fitting that he recommended me to review this movie. that Oz agrees that there has to be a nice mixture between writing and art, and I agree with him 100% on his video about that. I'm gonna link his channel, by the way, in the description box below, so don't worry, I'm definitely gonna do that. But he said it best when he said that there's a mixture between both, because there is. You need that kind of nuance with both of them, and this movie does not have that. Unfortunately, it suffers from being visually pleasing, but aesthetically, it's not. It's just bad otherwise. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of, I want to say, mediocre review. I apologize if it didn't sound that great, but it's just one of those movies that's kind of hard to review without spoiling. I mean, again, movies in general, when you review them, you have to be really careful not to spoil too much. And I think a lot of reviewers, when they review anime movies especially, spoil too much with their reviews. I really do. But like I said, not a bad movie, just not that great. It's not, not the worst thing ever I've seen. Anyways, everyone, as usual, like, comment, subscribe, it helps me out a lot. And as always, until our paths cross again in the next review, have a good one, everyone. Bye bye.